My name's Sasha Pete, and I'm joined by a fantastic individual, an Olympian and Socceroo. And when I think of Joe Spiteri, I think of the Melbourne Knights. Welcome, Joe.
Thanks, Sash. Thanks for having me.
No, this is absolutely brilliant, mate. I'm super excited to talk about your career. But first, maybe we can start. How did you fall in love with our great game?
Oh, mate, way back, probably age of 4 or so. My father was the president of the local club where we lived in St Albans, Green Gully Soccer Club, which is still going strong in the NPL these days. And, you know, used to follow him down to the club and watch everyone play and, you know, then play in the car parks and on the fields with all the mates that were down there as well. And just, you know, just following him about, you know, with his days in, you know, the soccer club, and just fell in love with the game.
So so you played at Gully as a junior? Yeah.
So my father was president there, like I said, when I was a youngster for over 10 years. And I played pretty much all my juniors there at Green Gully.
What a fantastic, so true Western Suburbs boy in the heart of Melbourne. And today we're filming this, and it's the first day that the Premier's let us out. So we're out of lockdown, but I've got Joe for today. So hopefully us Melburnians are able to get out. So fantastic club, Green Gully, steep history. And what were your memories like? How did you gravitate to the front of the pitch as a junior?
Well, yeah, like I said, when I first started officially at the club, they only had an under-9s, and I was, you know, maybe 4 or 5 at the time. And I think the plan was that anyone that turned up would be thrown in goals. That was their plan, and I went in goals for my first session or first game. I think I let in a horrendous amount of goals, and they said, get away as far away from the goals as possible. So from goalkeeper, I went up front straight away, and never looked back. You know.
And believe it or not, Gully was my first junior club as well. You're only a few years older than me. But we used to play big pitch, so under 9s, there was no this mini roos. So remember, we played.
That's it.
We played big pitch, and the only deviation was we took the corners from, I think it was the 18-yard box, right?
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. So under 9s, big pitch, corners from the edge of the 18-yard box. You know, just heaps of room. And if you were a junior that had the ability to want the ball and run with the ball, you're going to make a very, you know, good player of it, because you had so much room. So not like these days. It was where you know, everyone gets a touch now and everyone's got an opportunity to play. I would never pass the ball after a few years, and there wasn't many players actually getting the touch of the ball, which wasn't very good.
So, and this is the interesting thing we're talking about now, the centre forwards, not knowing what to do. But as a junior, you would get the ball and probably run, you know, 20, 30 yards and learn to bang in goals. And today, you need that as a centre forward. You need to know how to be hungry for the ball and be comfortable in front of goals. As a junior, were you scoring a lot of goals as a junior for Gully?
Yeah, look, you know, after, you know, the while after I went up front and started to understand, well, look, I've got all this room. I'm sitting on the halfway line and I'm just sitting there planning, going, I'm going to get this ball and I'm just going to, you know, run from the halfway line, beat a few players, get to the edge of the box and, you know, hit the target. And that's all we pretty much did back then, you know, and scored lots and lots of goals. I remember under 9s one time, you know, we'd go out to play against Broadmeadows and, you know, win 25-0, 30-0, you know, which wasn't very good for our opposition. No. But for yourself as a striker, you know, I think I came away with 11 or 12 goals that game, you know. Yes. So, you know, you just get that feeling and that hunger, and you get so much of the ball in that type of, you know, situation where you know, 11 players on a big field under 9s. It was really helped me along. You know, it probably didn't help a lot of the other players along because they didn't get much of the ball. But yeah, it definitely helped me along as a striker. You know, having that instilled in me from a very young age.
And when did you first get your first senior game? How old were you?
I didn't play for Gully Seniors. I got to a point where I was in the reserves for Gully at an early age, probably about 15 or so, where I was sort of in the squad, but, you know, playing reserves. And I think at that time I was asked by Gully to sign my first contract. By, of course, my father wasn't president at the time. There was another president. And it wasn't a very, very good contract. It had, you know, big monetary value on my head if I ever wanted to move from Gully. So unfortunately, I never got to play my first senior game at Gully. I decided to leave Gully due to that and went down to Heidelberg. And I think my first ever senior game was then playing at Albion at about the age of 16, 17.
So is that the Albion became Carnley?
Albion now is Carnley.
I think they changed the name back to
Carnley days out at Albion Rovers.
Albion Rovers,
West Sunshine there.
Great people down at Albion. I think they've changed their last year or so. They changed their name back to Albion. Fantastic pedigree of a club, and they're located in Carnley, my neck of the woods. So,
right around from where I used to live as a boy, and my mum still lives there. It's just around the corner from St Albans.
Fantastic. So, man of my own heart, true Western Suburbs boy. So, all right, and you spent some time at Albion there, and before Parramatta came knocking, and you went to work for the boss.
Like I said, I left Green Gully after playing all my juniors there. Went to Heidelberg, played in their youth system in the old NSL, or the National League, and didn't get an opportunity to play senior level there. So went back down to the Premier League back then and played with Albion under Cherdo Cekovic, who recently passed, unfortunately, and. He gave me my opportunity to play, and was good friends with Rally Rasic, and that's how I got picked up to play back in the National League at senior level with Parramatta, and that was my first senior game back in 93 or 92, 93, as a 17, 18-year-old.
Fantastic. So you're a Melbourne boy of Aussie heritage, and you go to play for the very, very proud Sydney club of Maltese heritage. And what was it like working for the boss?
Rally Rasic, unbelievable coach. The club itself, unbelievable. It was very hard for me to, young boy away from home, living with other families, and it was pretty tough. First sort of stint away from home. But I had some family friends that lived up there, which took me in and really helped me through that time. And I think I had a very good initial season at Parramatta. And Rally Rasic, a very, very smart individual.
Yes, I would say well ahead of his time. And you got by the time you went and played for him, he'd already accomplished plenty.
Yes, he'd let you know exactly how much he's accomplished, and we used to spend a lot of time in the dressing rooms listening to all the stories and everything about it. So, unbelievable coach, very smart fellow.
And so from memory, you had Gabriel Mendes in the side there. And who were the other quality players there at Parramatta?
We had a very good side. When I went there, we won the National League Cup.
That's right.
Then, in the first season, played alongside Marshall Soper, one of the greatest strikers that ever played the game.
Yes.
I pretty much learned my trade from the best. Yes. Following Marshall and just trying to sort of emulate what he did, even though it was sort of coming towards the end of his career. Gabriel Mendes, as you already mentioned, Jeff Gunnings.
Quality size.
Quality players. I just forget the names, but I can see their faces. They're unbelievable, players that played at that club.
So you obviously this is the thing that people don't talk about, but you've gotten a taste now of moving away from home, and this may have helped you a little bit later in a few years to come, and we'll get to that. But the learnings that you get as a player it's not just about the 90 minutes on the weekend. It's also about the ability to live away from home and be isolated and be lonely. These are the things that professional footballers need to deal with.
Yeah, look, I learned it from a very young age. As I said, my first stint was, 17, 18 away from home. And then as a professional going overseas, it's all by yourself. There's no family, there's no friends. You're over there, you're in the lion's den, you got to perform, you got to live, you got to speak different languages. You got to take that on board. And, with my stint overseas, a lot of really good players came over and just unfortunately couldn't deal with that sort of situation. They could deal with the soccer and they could deal with being, very skilled players, but, just that thing being away from Australia and, one of the best countries in the world. Yeah. And, you've got no family, you've got to speak a different language. You've got no one, and you still got to then perform and show that you're, going to be an integral part of a team that's trying to sign you up. Yeah, so, very difficult and an integral part of being a professional.
And it's probably young players sort of idolize the 90 minutes. They see people playing, but they don't know the sacrifices that you need to give up to get there. But before we do, you had a stint in arguably one of the better sides in National Soccer League history. I'll just, that team 94, 95, 96. I'll just run through some of the names at Melbourne Knights. From memory, you had Mirko Bazic as coach, and I think Ian Dobson took over one of the seasons. Is that right?
Later on. Yeah, Mirko Bazic was initially the coach, and then Ian Dobson later. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but some of the names right up front, you had yourself, Mark Viduka, Oli Ponduljak, Mark Silic, I think Damien Wojtek was there, Kruni Razov that ended up coaching at Suburbs, my club, Ivan Dazelle, you had Danny Tiato, Fausto Diamicis, Steve Horvat,
Andrew Marth.
You know what I mean? This is quality. You know what I mean? You're talking about
the Savinsky brothers. The list goes on and on and on.
Exactly.
And on.
Yeah. So
just quality player after quality player.
You had Vinko Buljabasic there. So what was it like those couple of years at Melbourne Croatia, Melbourne Knights?
Again, like the talent was just unbelievable. The standard of training, the level that we played at was unbelievable. I think the biggest part of that winning team, sure, we had talent, but we really became a close-knit social group as well.
Yeah.
The club with a big Croatian background, was always, putting on things for us, after training and meals and events and then even after training as a group, we would, tend to go out, the old metro and stuff like that, which is pretty much frowned upon in today's professional days. But that made us a really tight-knit group on and off the field. So if anything happened really on the field, it was like someone was attacking your brother, because that's how close we became as a group. So a lot of opposition found us really hard to handle, because we'd give that aggression back if someone sort of came on and hurt one of us. So that was a really big thing for I think the success of our club. Yeah. You can put a good team together, but if the team's not a family and not gelling, it's just a bunch of individuals resenting how good the other player was, and that's not what we were about. And it showed on the park. They tried to stop us from doing these social events or going out, but when you're winning every game and you win back-to-back championships, there just wasn't. You know, we used to tell them when we start losing a few games, then we might stop going out on a Friday night or something like that. So we were probably, in hindsight, you know, the biggest pub team out there.
Okay.
But we produced, we performed, and, you know, week in, week out, no one could beat us.
All right. So who would you say at training would take the mickey the most out of all the names in that?
Mate, I think everyone other than Fausto Diamicis, you know, it was just a fun session to be there. Not that Fausto's not fun, but he was really serious all the time.
Yes,
Come on, boys, we must run the full lap. Come on, boys, you know, really hard at it, like unbelievable work ethic, that bloke. And you probably see him today. He's still running 100 miles an hour. You know, it just goes through. But you know, everyone was out there to enjoy it. We did do the job, but we made sure we did enjoy it. You know, and it started from the top. Andrew Marth, you know, he'd be the one leading things and making sure things are happening, and what he say actually, you know, goes. And for us younger players, you wouldn't question him, because that would you know, relate to a clip around the ears from him, and you don't want that from an opposite player. And
what about the training sessions when you'd split up the sides? Who was able to do the dazzle at training? Because I'm sure in the games, what people don't know is the beauty of a team. You know, the spectators get to see the 90 minutes, but you players get to see what you boys do at training, right? And see some amazing things, what happens at training on a daily basis. Who was able to really tear it up at training?
Mate, you got players there like Danny Tiardo, you know, the Pondoyak brothers, you know, eventually Tommy came at the end as well. You know, these boys, just, you know, different class. They're, you know, Mark Viduka, you know, the things that he used to pull out, you know, from his bag of tricks was unbelievable. You know, and at such an early age. You know, I went to school with Mark. He was a year younger than me, and you know, we'd have been playing with our senior group. You know, when he was about 13 or 14. That's the skill he had from such an early age.
Yeah, fantastic. So, you know, over 50 games. 20 goals, fantastic career there at the Knights, and then you get a break. What was the sort of decision to go overseas to still?
Look, as a young player, you especially when you start to make the decision that, you know what, I want to make a career of football. You know, at an early age, it was just for the love of it, and you play for the love. But then, as you got serious about it, you think, well, I got a chance of, you know, making a career professionally. And unfortunately at the time, you know, unlike now, there wasn't really a clear career path here in Australia.
Yes. So
you always had in your you know, notion to, if you did want to make a real go of it, you had to really go overseas, unfortunately. You know, the wages just weren't, you know, enough here. You were only playing semi-professional. You weren't putting the hours into to actually, you know, better yourself. So you're always thinking of that. And then as the Olympics, you know, got selected for the Olympic side, and you know, got overseas, went to Atlanta, and we're in the window there, and played, you know, a lot of different friendly matches against, you know, clubs like West Ham and Sheffield Wednesday and Queen's Park Rangers, and, you know, then playing other overseas clubs. You just always thought, well, if I show my wares, hopefully there'll be an opportunity to maybe get to one of these clubs, and that's what was in your mindset from that particular time.
And you know, over plenty of games there. You had the Bosnian Ivica Osim, I think, who was either the manager there at what was he like?
Yeah, so look, you know, after the Olympics, had a lot of opportunity, and of course, you know, for ease of living, I was trying to get into England, you know, because the transition would be a lot easier than, you know, a non-speaking English country. But unfortunately, at the time, I had dual citizenship, so I was an Australian passport, and I did have a Maltese passport. Okay. But back then, Malta weren't in Europe. So, you know, the European Union was just forming, and so that didn't help me get into Europe. And at the time, I actually was approached by Harry Redknapp, who was the coach of West Ham.
Yep.
And a big contract was put on the table. And, of course, I wanted to get to West Ham, but I couldn't get a work permit at the time by the club. I had to play so many international games for Australia and be paid at a certain amount. And I was on the border, and a work permit wasn't forthcoming. And all the English clubs were the same. I had opportunity with Sheffield Wednesday, then after that, Queen's Park Rangers. And I spent a lot of my time after the Olympic Games in '96 in England and hoping that I'd be able to get through with a work permit, but it wasn't forthcoming. So then pretty much transfer deadlines were closed, and the opportunity came from the Austrian club Sturm Graz.
Yeah.
You know, I wasn't very familiar with the Austrian club, you know, an Austria's league altogether. Looked into the club. Ivica Ozim, you know, unbelievable coach, was the coach at the time. They had Giuseppe Giannini playing for him, Ivica Vastic, a lot of international players. And I thought,
quality.
you know what?
Vastic,
yeah.
how good was Vastic? Oh.
Unbelievable, you know, Mario Haas, you know, there's a lot of these different international players. And I've gone, well, let's go give it a go. And went over there and did a 3-year stint there. And that was the start. You know, learned an unbelievable amounts over there. And, you know, the difference even in the Austrian league compared to what you came from Australia, semi-professional, and what you did in Austria, training, you know, twice a day, every day.
Yes.
You know, your diet, your training regime was monitored. You know, it just clicked up tenfold.
Now you're a professional footballer. Yeah. You're eating right.
And when you talk about Austria, you'd go and say, well, Austria, they're not very professional, but compared to what I came from, it just was like unbelievable step.
Yeah, I'm sure it would have been you know, the expectations of the level. You realise now what it really takes to be a professional footballer. You know, the 2 sessions a day, eating right, you know, competing for your spot. All that.
Getting
all that
weight
stuff.
every day, you know, doing every little thing, you know, the social side of things, you know, even if you wanted to do them, it was very hard then to sort of maintain a certain level. So you really had to, you know, do everything right and make sure that you're performing week in, week out. Otherwise, you're going to be sitting on the bench for a lot, and you're going to be in a country where they don't even speak English. That it snows all the time. You're playing in snow and you're sitting freezing on the bench. Not the best thing that you want to do as a professional.
And so a couple of seasons, a few seasons at over there in the Austrian league, and you know you pick up another language, so it's a benefit of being over there. So
had to learn German over there.
Yep. So
Austrian dialect.
And then you come across to Belgium First Division, and you're playing against the likes of Anderlecht, Club Brugge, Ghent. You know, it's a decent league, and you spent a couple of seasons. I think from memory, it was Muse was the coach, Walter Muse. Did he?
Yeah, Walter Muse.
He had the job there. How is it like in Belgium?
Belgium, still trying to get to England. You know, this is the goal for me. I want to get into England, so it became a stepping stone. Belgium clubs, you know, probably seen as a good league, probably just under, you know, the big leagues. You know, your Netherlands, your English leagues, your Spanish leagues, you know, your Italian leagues. So when Liège came calling, I thought, well, this could be an opportunity for me, you know, and hopefully play, you know, a few good seasons. And my next step could be, you know, getting in the back door England-wise while I get my international caps up. So, and that was a big issue of actually leaving Sturm Graz. Unbelievable club, but it got to a point where they were a little bit upset every time I went to play for Australia. Because as an Australian player, unlike a European player, every time you were called to play for Australia, you'd be gone for a few weeks.
Yeah.
You know, you don't just leave, go to the next European country, play 2 or 3 days later, you're back. So that caused a lot of issues in the Austrian club, which led me to sort of leave that club, because it was, you know, I really enjoyed the club, but, you know, got to a point where they were not happy with me leaving, and actually told to the Australia, you know, people that, no, he's not playing anymore for Australia, which unfortunately, no, that wasn't something that I wanted to do.
Yeah.
So, yeah, got over to Belgium, and the level's just another step. You know, the intensity, the speed of the game, you know,
How
went
much
up
difference,
again.
Joe? How much difference
I
between
think the
Austrian
main
League and Belgium?
the main difference between Austrian and Belgium is the speed that they played the game. Yeah. So then the fitness level that you needed to be at needed to go up a few notches. In Austria, the speed wasn't as quick, because the fitness level, I think, by the league itself across the board wasn't as high as what they were in Belgium. So, you know, a higher fitness level, which means a higher speed of play.
Yeah.
And which means a shitload more work for you in the training field.
Yeah.
Which you thought that, oh, geez, I'm training really hard here in Austria. And then you get to Belgium, you go, jeepers, I didn't actually know that you actually could train even a couple of steps higher, you know. So it got a little bit more serious. There was a lot of, vitamins and additives to your food, and a lot of computerized monitoring, heart monitoring, and you know, this is talking about, you know, we're in 97, 98, or maybe early 99.
99, 2000.
Yeah, 2000. So we're talking 20 years ago, and they're making you wear, you know, heartband monitors, watches, you know, blood tests, you know, your total training, even though you were part of a team, your training session was individually designed for you.
Wow.
So they'd get your weight every day, they'd get your blood, they'd get you everything, and then they'd set your heart rate monitor to a level that you had to train at. So if you ended up not putting the effort in pre-season that you were supposed to do, or you know, you went out a few nights and you're overweight, or you've had a few big meals and you haven't kept your diet very much, your training session would then be computerized and pumped up. So while the coach was maybe talking to the team, your heart level might drop below this level they want you at. So you would have to be doing sprints while he was talking to keep your heart monitor up. That's the type of level that we were training at, because your watch would start beeping. It'll go beep, 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 and then you'd have to start doing extra running and go, oh shit, you know, I got to maintain a level for the whole session. So
we're talking about training loads are measured, sort of nutrition, obviously overall health, impact on let's say wear and tear. You're dealing with the medical staff to make sure that you're at the right level. Wow. See,
you go to training 8 o'clock in the morning. You get there. You've got your pedicurists. You've got your physios. You've got your, you know, whatever medical staff you need. Yeah. If your toes aren't, you know, in the right stuff, there's a pedicurist there. They'll make sure that your feet are all right. So everything was there for you to enable you to play at the highest level. Wow. But you had to do the right thing and play and make sure you put the effort in on the park. So, you know, like I said, it was a little bit daunting. You know, a bit overawing. You know, you went out for a meal the night before and you're thinking, oh, geez, I've got to weigh this morning. You might sit on the toilet for a while just to make sure you make a weight. And because, you know, if you don't make a weight or you don't make a certain level, you're going to be training at a higher level out on the field, like a ridiculous level, to make sure, you know, if you're half a kilo over, you have to get that weight down. You've got a subsequent playing weight, and you'll say, I think my playing weight back then was between 75 kilos and 77 or 78 kilos. Yep. So if I fluctuated either way, I would then have to, you know, my training regime would be computerized and designed to make sure I come to that ideal playing weight that they have computerized, and they're experts and doctors have said, this is what we need this player at. Yeah. So it was unbelievable.
So this is not just about weight. This is also about the percentage of fat versus muscle,
everything,
body, everything. And
your blood test, what's in your blood, everything in your blood. You know, you go and do running tests, and they'll take blood every 5 minutes of that running test. You know, have you got enough oxygen in your blood? Have you got enough certain things that they need in your blood. This is 20 years ago.
Yeah.
You know, you think this is unbelievable for such a long time ago. You know, we're only probably doing this in Australia now.
And Joe, was it a pleasure to play, or was the shirt heavy?
Look, no matter what, it was always enjoyable to be out there playing. You know, I love playing. You know, the crowds, like you said, you can start to play against Club Brugge, Anderlecht. You know, these clubs where you've got 50, 60,000, you know, passionate supporters.
Yeah.
You know, Liège, we ended up winning the Belgium Cup, scoring in the Belgium Cup, you know, in front of 80,000. You know,
fantastic.
These are things dreams are made of, and the level of intensity to get there is just what you had to do.
Mm-hmm.
It became a norm. It's a bit of a shell shock when you come from Australia and you don't know about it.
Yeah.
But it's your job, and it becomes second nature. You know, your job's 8 till 6 o'clock at night, and you spend time all day at the training ground. You know, you have lunch at the training ground. Everything's there for you. And you just train twice a day, every day, and that was it.
Who are you?
Second nature.
Who are your best mates there within that team?
Became good friends with Jeffrey Kleiss.
Yep.
Who ended up coming to Australia and playing with the Melbourne Victory. You know, he played for Club Brugge and Anderlecht and those type of players and clubs, and still good friends with him now. So he was one of my very close friends. Over there, Eric Van Meer was the captain. He was an unbelievable captain.
What a player.
Unbelievable player. Like, if you saw the bloke, you'd think, it reminded me a bit of an Andrew Marth.
Yep.
You know, big, heavy, you know, a strong player. But he used to do things, you'd look at him and you'd think he's in slow motion. You know, like a basketballer. He'd just roam down, get into the box, score the goal, jog back. You know, just always knew where to be, how to be. And he looked slow motion, but he was just about 5 steps ahead of everyone with how he read the game.
Yes.
He was unbelievable. And a great bloke off the park.
Oh, great. And it shows how important football intelligence is. It's not just about the physical attributes. You know, I always say that some of the people that I'm just a junior coach, but I really believe the smarter footballer wins. You know, football's played between the ears, right? You need to think in the game. And then if you think, then you're able to be one step ahead of what's happening.
Again, it's not like he didn't train at all or anything like that, but he definitely wasn't the quickest player out in the park. You know, if you had a race with him, but he just thought, you know, 5 steps ahead of the quickest player. So he always understood, you know, how to be and how to, you know, where to be and beat those players in that race anyway, because he was in the area, you know, before they even thought about going there. He knew where the ball was going before the defender or the attacker even knew it was going there. So, you know, smarts of the game, definitely. If you could be the fittest player in the world, if you don't understand the game and where to be and what to do, you're going to struggle. Yeah.
So, Joe, you spent time in Belgium, and you've gone across to is it the Swedish division?
Yeah. So while overseas, again, injury was the biggest problem. You know, I broke a bone when I was in Austria, kept me out of the game. When I went to Belgium in my second season, I fractured 5th metatarsal on my foot. So again, you know, I fractured my 5th metatarsal, did an operation in Belgium, which didn't really go to plan. It was some new technique that was going to have me, you know, back playing very quickly and, you know, stronger than ever. But 8 months later, I still wasn't playing. Eventually got back on the park, as I said, you know, played in the Belgian Cup final, scored, was beginning to score again. And, you know, getting back on top, you know, in front of 80,000 people, the Belgian Cup. And, you know, after that, the whole of Liège, where the club was, you know, big party in the streets and, you know, overflowing, and we were like, you know, superstars. But yeah, the next season went, you know, playing again, got halfway through or quarter of the way through the season, scoring goals, and fractured my foot again. So, you know, left Belgium to come home and actually get it sorted in Australia after the disaster, the first operation I had. And, you know, they put a titanium screw in it, and ever since then, I was back playing within 2 months, 2 or 3 months again. But of course, I'd pretty much missed nearly 1.5 seasons in Belgium. Had a good contract. I was still getting full match payments, and that put a little bit of a dampener on, any further extension, and it put a little bit of a dampener on actually, trying to find a new club, because you sign a 3-year deal and you've only played maybe a year of that, and they look at you, and every time it wasn't a matter of how well I did or my performance, it was all a matter of, oh, how's your foot? Is it okay? I was, and you couldn't really sell any confidence anymore to the club, even though they could see you playing. There was always that stigma that, oh, we're going to get him under a contract, and what's to say he's not going to break it again, or what's to say he's not going to break down again. So that was very hard. So once that those 2 big major setbacks, you sort of, it was very hard then to sort of get a new club. So went for a stint in Sweden. Norrköping, who were in the top flight then, they were trying to avoid relegation. Went there and actually scored the goal that kept them up. It was a vital match.
Is that the only goal you scored in that year?
That was the only goal I scored.
How good's that? The one goal you scored that year.
Weeks or whatever was there, and the goal I scored was in the vital match. We won 1-0, and we had to win that match to stay up.
Good for you. Good.
Yeah.
All right.
It was.
Did your job. Job done.
Yeah, it wasn't the best of stints, but I can always say, look, kept you up. What more do you want? So, and they were actually, happy with what I did and did want me to stay, but unfortunately, to sign a long-term deal, it became, they had to pay more money, they had to do more things, I had to have certain things, and it fell through. And then from there, again, with that injury cloud over me, it just was too hard to get any decent offers without them saying, oh, well, you're going to injure yourself. So that pretty much cut my overseas career short, and thought it was time to head back down to Australia. And the National League was still going pretty strong then, and had improved. I was over in Europe for 7 years odd, so see if we can go back and maybe finish off my career there.
Fantastic. And from memory, you did a little bit at Sydney Olympic, and before you came back to you did a number of years at Marconi. Is that right?
Yeah. So Olympic was still when I was still backwards and forwards, trying to get that contract in Europe, and there was like a 4-week deal on the table. Again, so I just came back for a short term there, and then when it just was 100% that I just wasn't going to get the right deal. Rally Rasic, who was in control of, the football's director at Marconi, said, come play for us.
Yeah, why not?
Raul Blanco was the coach at the time, and then John Paul Demarani took over, and played with the young Alex Brosk, and a couple of great players that down there, and had a really good time at Marconi.
How good was Blanco as a coach?
Raul Blanco, I've known Raul from the national team because he was always a part of that, and very clever coach. Again, these coaches, just understand the game tremendously, and so you have nothing but respect for their football knowledge.
Fantastic. And so many seasons there at a few seasons there at Marconi. Before then,
by this time I was married, and had our first child in Sydney. Over there. So it started to get a little bit different from doing everything on your own. Now it was sort of more, well, I've got to look after my family. So the priorities sort of changed a little bit.
And once you have a little one, then obviously the parents and the reconnection back with the family.
That's right.
Getting the extended family, you move back down to Melbourne.
Yeah. So you've always been a Melbourneite, Western Suburbs boy. My wife's was from Avondale, so from Melbourne, all our families in Melbourne. You've had a child away from all of them in Sydney, the enemy. And now my daughter's from New South Wales. She's not a Victorian, which is, oh my God. And try to get back down to Melbourne.
Okay. And you ended up playing at Kingston City for a couple of seasons. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
well, the old NSL disbanded.
Yeah.
So my last club was Marconi.
Yeah.
NSL disbands, and there's no future for any Australian soccer player except to go down to your lower leagues until they decide what they're going to do with total Australian competition again. And at that time, we couldn't go down and play for our Premier League clubs because there was a rule in place that said if you played at National League level, the time had passed for you to go down and play for a Premier League club or a First Division club. The only way you could play for the 6 months till the next season started, or it was maybe even more than that, is play amateur level. So Kingston City came knocking and said, come play for us. We'll look after you.
How's good that? How good's that?
We'll get you a job. We'll find you some employment out of it. I said, okay, Kingston City. Where are these guys? Never heard of them before. Let's have a look. Oh, Division 2. Oh, okay. They play against West United, I thought. They play against, clubs nearby where I live.
Yeah, yeah.
But little did I know that there were 2 leagues in Division 2, the Southwest and the Northeast.
Yeah.
And, of course, Kingston City was in the Northeastern League, which I had no idea about.
Yeah.
So I've committed to play for Kingston City, only to realise that they were over an hour away from my, western suburbs home. Yeah. So I had to travel in there. And the job they got me was out in Oakley, which, travelling there. So pretty much I've got this young family. I've committed to play for Kingston City. They've got me a job. So I used to leave very early in the morning to beat traffic and come home very late. So I really didn't see my newborn daughter for that whole season, just to continue to play
football,
football and see if I can then, use that as a stepping stone to see what happens next season.
Yeah. I remember you playing still a lot of crowds in that division. You played a game against my club, Western Suburbs, and you guys were, at that level, I mean, superstars. People would come out of the woodwork to come and watch you play and sit around the fence. And I remember one of our boys trying to mark you, said, I'm going to mark Joe, and I did an okay job. I think that day you only bagged 1. And before too long, you get to play around the corner back in the Western Suburbs, back at the Knights, back in the VPL, the old, what was the Victorian Premier League? Fantastic. Back home at the Knights. What was that? What did that feel like?
Yeah, well, it pretty much came full circle. Went to Kingston again. Forced there. Kingston, unbelievable club, as you said. Greek heritage. The fans at Division 2 level. They'd get nearly 5,000 sometimes at some of their games. Great social club, great people there. Spent 1 season there initially looking to move on. But I think the A-League was started back then, and was trying to get into the victories, and they were saying, oh well, you're playing in Division 2, and so they didn't really nut out a deal with victory because the funds or the monetary offered was pretty low. And now, as I said, I've got a family, I've got a wife, I've got a mortgage, I can't go there and play as a junior would. And really had nothing to prove. There was no that I played in the A-League. So stayed at Kingston for another couple of seasons, and we went from Division 2 to Division 1, and we went from Division 1 to Premier League. So and then in the Premier League, they had bought heaps of, well-known superstars
Yes.
to come down and play. Steve Yosifidis, Alex Kirizoglu, I can't recall the players, but just they threw heaps of money.
I think from memory, you also had a New Zealand international in goals.
Yeah, we had someone from Japan. We got a Japanese guy down there. We had Michael Turnbull was in goals.
Michael Turnbull.
We got Michael Turnbull. Again, great players. But that was a definition of, as we were speaking before, where we had heaps of talent, but they weren't there for the right reason. You know what I mean? There was a lot of money being thrown around at that time to try and win, Kingston City in the league, and so after that, bit of a sour taste because of that club was a family club, social club, and it just went in the sort of wrong direction. Try and actually buy and win a league, and the opportunity came again to work and play at the Knights.
Fantastic.
Which I thought beautiful, close to home. I've spent 3 years now away from home. And not watching my family grow up. And at this time, we've just had another child. And I thought it was time to sort of get closer to home and just finish my career at the club I started. So pretty much well, not actually started, but pretty much did full circle. As Kevin Muscat, a good friend of mine, says, you got to be very friendly to the people you meet on the way up, because it's the same people you meet on the way down.
Yeah, but I think I remember you was Barisic. Who was your strike partner at the Nice there the last couple of years? The last year.
Yeah, Barisic was there.
Yeah.
Adrian Savinsky. Pondolyak.
Yeah. Yeah, so
Tommy,
still quality side. Yeah. What people may not know, did you spend? You only stopped playing a few years ago. Are you still having a kick?
I'm still playing locally here with Point Cook Jets.
Yep.
I live out of Point Cook, so the Point Cook Jets soccer club down there.
Yeah.
Great club in the area. Still playing with the Masters now.
Yeah.
I'm hanging up the boots for the seniors and playing with the old boys over 35s and enjoying that. Unfortunately, the season didn't kick off this year, but hopefully we'll be back soon, kicking off for next season.
Yeah. So is it true that you ended up scoring in the senior side more goals than games played?
Had some really good stints at Point Cook, because again, that was a junior club for a long time.
Yeah.
I was running my academy out there, and they decided to put senior soccer in, probably about 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And got me on board. We started Division 5.
Yeah.
So I sort of was thinking to myself, hang on, we're going to get to a point here where if we start Division 5, I could be going and actually say I've played in every league division in Australia. So we went from Division 5, we got promotion. We went to Division 4, again we got promotion, again scored a lot of goals at that level, and played Division 3. So the only division I haven't played at is Division 1 at the moment. So I've gone, I've done me 5, I've done me 4, done me 3 at Point Cook. Actually, no, I played in every division, because at
Kingston you did Division 1.
Kingston, I did 2, 1,
Yeah.
So
there you go.
The whole. I haven't played pub league yet. The normal league. We'll do that after the Masters.
Exactly. That's it. We'll do that. We'll do that later.
Yeah, exactly.
What a great journey. But we're going to rewind now. Okay. So we've gone through the lab, because you're an Olympian. And you played for the Socceroos. You touched on that. So now I want to talk about your first game. Was it in June '95?
Yeah.
You came on for John Markowski, I think, in the 70th minute.
So Ghana, I think.
Yeah. Was it in Perth? Yeah. So Perth. Eddie Thompson's coach. What was Eddie like as a coach?
Again, unbelievable knowledge of the game, and he he rewarded hard workers.
Okay.
I think he was, from that era, and from that sort of, background where he liked players that worked hard. Of course he wanted skillful players, but you needed to put the effort in, and you needed the passion that you wanted to work and succeed. And I think that's what he liked about me.
Yeah.
He knew would always get 150% out of me, in wherever he wanted to throw me.
Okay. And what was that like? Because it's every boy's dream wearing that jersey. What was that like? The first game.
Look, coming on, I remember, and again, I can recall it because it was on my highlights reel. That my very first touch of the ball, I got a throw in from around halfway, and then just put my head down and started running at the Ghanaian defence and took it into the edge of the box, cut it back to
one of the forwards. Yeah.
I'm forgetting
Arnold,
all these
was it Arnold?
players' names here.
So I'll tell you that some of the players that played that game: Kalac, Ivanovic, Zelic, Popovic, Tobin, Viet, was a Carl Viet up front. Paul Wade was in the squad. Arnold, Lazaridis.
South Melbourne great. He's now the South Melbourne football director. Oh my God, how do I forget a player like this? Anyway, cut it back to him, and he just pushed it wide or something. And they said, "What an unbelievable first stint at international A-class football for this player." And it just sort of went from there. That was sort of how I built my game. Getting that ball and running at defenders.
Yeah, fantastic. This is your first stint in the NSL, and you played also.
Paul Trimboli, his name.
Paul Trimboli. Yeah, he's at the Victory now.
Yeah.
So
that's right.
You also came on against Argentina, and played against the likes of Batistuta, Zanetti, Simeone. These are
Ortega.
Quality.
You start sort of taking football passion to the next level. You spend time in Argentina, just an unbelievably incredible atmosphere, and supporters just going off their nut. Scaling cyclone fences, shaking. I think the stadium held 60,000-70,000, and it was just an intimidating experience, and then you're playing with not one bit of support against such great players. I think we got hammered 3-0 at the time, but even then I came off the bench and took it at them. I ran at them, and I can remember my highlights reel again, just running at these players trying to kick the absolute leather out of me, just super memories.
Fantastic. I mean, obviously now you know. It's 1995. You're playing against the world greats. You must have a feeling that I'm on the verge of making it, right? So you're playing for your country. You're coming on. You're talking about, like I said, we mentioned some names that who are in that Argentine side. Who you got?
Yeah, and you're on the same field as them. You're actually on the same field, which you just thought was never actually ever going to be possible. You dreamt it. It was a dream, and you're starting to believe. You're starting to go, hang on, well, if I keep putting the hard yards in, hopefully this continues to, proceed and go forward. And look, when I look back on everything that I've done, I could have done a lot more, but I could have done a lot worse.
Yeah.
So, I think, the big point for me, the big turning point was injury, which stopped me doing a lot more, but I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world, because there's been a lot of great players that, could have done a lot more that just didn't, get there. So, it's been unbelievable.
And the following year, you get selected to be an Olympian, sir. And you head off to Atlanta. So Eddie Eddie Thompson selects you in what I think was pretty young Socceroos squad. So I think from memory, he took Vidmar, Aurelio Vidmar, and Horvat in the skies as overage players, but you had quality. Kevin Muscat, you said your mate, obviously another Western Suburbs Maltese boy. Man now, but Marko Duka, I think he's in his second year at Dinamo Zagreb at the time. I think Kevin was he signed at Crystal Palace.
He was playing there at the time.
And you guys have drawn a pretty tough group, right? So with you had Spain, France, and you won a game against the Saudis. Yeah, is that the three? So tough group, right?
Pretty tough group. Pretty unlucky with the draw. But pretty excited to be playing against such big international countries.
Yeah, so
Spain and France. So we were looking forward to the challenge.
The first game is against Spain. Is that the first game in the Orange Bowl?
No, France was the first game.
First game. All right. So you lose. Was it 2-0? Perez scored a goal in that game, didn't he?
1-0, I think we ended up losing. I
think it was 2-0.
1 or 2-0, yeah. 1 or 2-0. Didn't start that game, which was a shock to me. Again, because, prior to, all the friendly matches and everything like that, I was playing pretty much every game, starting every game, scoring a hell of a lot of goals in the pre-tournament, friendlies. And shockingly, I didn't start. But again, as a part of a group, you take it. So, and didn't get much game time. I think I came on in the second half, and we lost that game. So which wasn't a good start.
So it was that first game that within 24 minutes, it was a Tiago got red carded. That first game.
Yeah, I think so.
So after we went down to 10 men up, it was in the first half. I'm pretty sure he was got red carded at the Orange Bowl in Florida.
Orlando.
You had Peter Tsakenis in the side. Obviously, Danny Tiago, we mentioned, got the red card.
Ante Milicic, Babic, Bulja Basic, Frank Juric in goals, the overage player, Steve Horvat.
Aurelio Vidmar,
and Corica.
Yeah,
Corica was a part of it as well. But wasn't the ideal start.
So that France squad but was quality, right? So you had the likes of Vieira, young Vieira in the side, Pires, Makalele. Now you talk about those players, right? And I know you guys are all young boys, but they were already well accomplished for their age.
There was an under-23 comp, except for the overage players, and they're already seasoned professionals. Playing in the best leagues in the world. Yeah, and sort of most of us, maybe a
couple of you making it.
We're just starting to maybe find our steps to better leagues. You know, so we're still in our infancy. So. Yeah, to come up against the likes of them, you probably would say, well, did you really expect to win? Yeah. But I thought we could have, but it just didn't go away, especially that first game.
Yeah. So, obviously Danny was always fiery, right? As a player, right? You played with him. He loved the getting red carded.
He's never played a holdback. So he wears his passion on his sleeve, and if something's there, he'd go 100 miles an hour, and that's just what made him the player that he was. I suppose in hindsight, he would say that he probably should have maintained his aggression a little bit, and probably took it a bit too far. But very good friends with Danny, and great mate. We were roommates through the whole of the Olympics. So
good.
But he was never one to listen or tone it down just because you asked him to. Yeah.
Okay. What did you say to him after the game about the bookie?
Everyone was gutted, and
Okay.
we would have smashed him for it, but he definitely wouldn't have taken too kindly with it. And at that time, it was probably definitely not going to be something that would change him at all. He would have just brushed it off, and
Okay.
just said, well, it is what it is, whether it was right or wrong. That's just the player he was. You take the good with the bad when it came to Danny.
Yeah.
I probably wouldn't want him any other way.
And against the Saudis, you guys did all right. You got the points. You got the cookies there.
Yeah.
A 2-1 win over the Saudis.
Yeah, so I started against the Saudis.
Yeah.
Again, with the loss, I started, and it was a comfortable game. The scoreline didn't really show it 2-1, but it could have been 3 or 4.
Yeah.
I sort of went out wide, feeding the big V bomber up front, and he scored that unbelievable goal between his legs where he flicked it in that I can still remember from one of my crosses. And we were on top. So we won the second match, and it was all we've got our tails up. Bring on Spain.
Yes, and from memory, I think Peter Skenis got the first goal. Skenis banged the first goal in, and then you guys, obviously, Viduka got the second. And so, the third game against Spain. So obviously, again, they've got, they're star packed.
Raul. Who else? Just again, the names sort of I forget, but just players that are playing in the Spanish league or the highest leagues.
Yes.
And you've grown up sort of watching these players.
Yeah.
And you come up against them, but we came off a very confident win against Saudi Arabia, which we thought were going to be very hard, side, very fit side, and we put in an unchanged side because everything went pretty well in the second game, and we were well on top.
So from memory, you guys got up to you got up a couple of goals in that game?
We were 2-0.
2-0.
We caught them. Aurelio Vidmar scored twice. We were up 2-0 within 30 minutes. And everything was going the way it should. And I think it would have been around the 40th minute mark.
Yeah.
I was substituted. I don't know, to throw in a defender. Let's park the bus.
Yeah.
Well before half time, which again, at the time I was shocked and completely gutted from everything's running the way it should, and in hindsight, of course, everything in the hindsight you'd say, well, what a poor decision to park the bus against Spain with all these unbelievable players and try and hold out for more than a half. A 2-0 lead. So I got substituted, and just before half time, of course, Raul steps up, free kick, top corner. So we go in 2-1 at half time. Hold out pretty much, like just getting battered, what I can recall of the game. Like they were just battering us, but we were holding strong. Frank Shurich was having an unbelievable game in goal, and we kept them out. I think what I can recall all the way to pretty much 90 minutes, where they snuck a second to make it 2-2, and we just had to draw to go through because the results went our way. So all we needed was a draw. So that might have sort of, became the reasoning of, parking the bus so early. And we actually went up in injury time. Aurelio Vidmar hit the crossbar. Again, what I can recall of it. And from coming off the crossbar, they broke and scored on the death of time 3-2, blew the whistle, and we were out. And from being on top of the world, escorts to the grounds, police security, just being treated like absolute superstars.
Yeah.
All that finished.
Yes.
And I remember being back on the team bus after the game and just shedding a tear because the realization was we were out, and
it's over.
And again, like on the way to the ground, the bus has police escorts. All the traffic's out of the way. On the way home, no police escort. France, the Spain bus, police escort out. Australian bus, bye-bye. Stuck in traffic, licking our wounds. Our Olympic dream is over.
Yes.
So, yeah, it was a very, very, very sort of bitter pill to swallow. But I can say, like, again, from an individual point of view and from not a team point of view is, well, anytime I was on, we were winning. In the Olympics. But it doesn't go too well for a memory of, it doesn't make the pill even sweeter to swallow. It's a pill to swallow.
This is like a long list of Australian disappointments. You know what I mean? Where we're so good and we're playing the best teams in the world, and with the benefit of hindsight, maybe and this is maybe the small knock on that decision, that looking back now, who would park the bus? With 40 over 45 minutes of play, it's like ludicrous, right? Keep playing,
especially against a team like Spain.
Yeah, they're too good. They could put 3 or 4 past you in 10 minutes, let alone 45, right?
Exactly.
But yeah, that idea that we could have gone further, and obviously Spain and France progressed, and Australia's, and on paper, we ended up finishing where we should have been on paper. But football's played on grass, right? And if we could have held off on that one, then our names would have been in lights, and then you would have been in a bigger shop window. You're talking about.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, that
again. You can go back over the. You look at your whole career, and that's what I was talking about earlier. The little things that could have gone your way that didn't. Could have taken you to such a higher level, but then you look back at it and say, well, there was so many other great players that I know of personally that, even at the time when you compare yourself to these players, you go, this guy's probably a little bit better skilled than me, and should have made it to, even the level that I made it to and the level I played, but didn't.
Yes.
Because things didn't go his way, or he just didn't have the mental insight to do the right thing at the right time, or, thought he was maybe a bit better than what he was, because when it was a very hard thing to actually make it and get into an overseas club, especially if you were having to trial. You know what I mean? We were coming from Australia. It was very, very rare at that time that any Australian player would be selected from what they did in Australia. No one would come from Europe and go, oh, yeah, you've done well with the Melbourne Knights, you're in. You still had to go over there and show them what you could do at that level. And what they wanted to see was, is this player going to give us over and above what our players here can give us?
Yeah.
And what a lot of our players used to come and do, on trial, the better players that I thought were better than me, they'd come and not really put in that effort. They put in the skill and, that put a bit of razzle dazzle, for 10, 15 minutes on the thing, and they could see they were good players, but they didn't put in that hard work and yards and fight for every little thing. It was more so as an Australian player that our mentality was, you as a European club should be honoured to have me, where you had to be going across there and saying, no, I will do anything to be with you. You know what I mean? And that's what they saw from me. And that's the whole reason why I think made it where others didn't, that I thought were better players. Because a lot of them came across saying, well, look at me, I'm a great player. And they were great players. But the club would say, hang on, we don't need you. You need me. And that was the difference. So I think that mentality that I had from an early age definitely helped me to get, to where I did achieve in my career. Again, like you said, I could have been a lot better. Things went my way, but I didn't get injured. Like you said, if we went further in the Olympics, and if Malta came into the European Union earlier, if I played 80% of the games, not 70. I got so many could have beens, but again, you could dwell on them all your life. I just I see it as I'm really blessed to have achieved and done what I've done, and I wouldn't swap it for the world. It was such a great experience.
That's brilliant. And now you're giving back. So you run an academy. You coach the little ones. So tell me about that.
Well, yeah, look, run Soccer Pro Academy. Been running that now for probably the last 10 or so years. We coach pretty much, it's a lot of pre-club stuff.
Yeah.
We do under 5s, under 8s, under 12s. They're sort of our main group of kids. And pre-COVID, like you said, we're just coming out of prison now here in Victoria, unfortunately. I had about 450 kids.
Yeah.
You know, at a number of different venues around Melbourne.
Yeah.
And yeah, just teaching them the skills of the game. You know, what I understand to be, you know, how to make a great footballer, and just, you know, trying to make them club ready. And that's sort of been my task. You know, every year I'd probably finish off with, you know, over 400 kids, you know, teaching them the skills, making them enjoy the game, making them love the game, giving them the passion that I find out of the game. And then I'd probably lose half of them because they love it so much they want to go and play at a club.
Yep.
And then I'd work on the next batch.
That's brilliant.
A good thing now with Soccer Pro Academy is that we are actually part of the Premier Academy League, which was being formed in Sydney and has been running in Sydney and Canberra for the last 2 or 3 years. And we'll be a part of that next year. So that's going to give us the opportunity of fielding our own teams at a under 8s, under 10s, and under 12 level. So we'll give those players again another opportunity or another pathway as well. So if they don't want to join a club, they can stay and play at Soccer Pro Academy, because a lot of the players are sometimes reluctant to leave Soccer Pro because they love, you know, the coaching, they love what they get out of Soccer Pro, but we didn't have that opportunity for them to play at a club level. And I want, you know, I wouldn't deny my players to play at a club level just to keep them, you know, as business for me. So, you know, I encourage all, but you must play for a club. You must, because that's what you got to do. You got to have that, you know, club football or that competitive, you know, weekend match. And that's where, you know, the player comes into their own, you know, not just training on, you know, a soccer field, you know, midweek. So we've got that opportunity with Soccer Pro, and hopefully things keep going in the right direction COVID wise, and we can start the business back up again and see those kids, back out on the pitch, because there's no greater reward to seeing them enjoying themselves and actually bettering themselves turn by turn.
And I can speak firsthand. I got 2 young boys. I think it was 6 or 7 years ago that I put them a year with I think it was at Sydenham CRC, so just around the corner in our area.
My old school.
Yes, your old stomping ground. And I've still got your jerseys from that season. And literally, the encouragement was, so what's going to happen next year? If you love the game so much, go and play for a club. So that's exactly what it is. It's about the introduction to the game. It's a really nice, soft touch at teaching kids to love the game. That's what I appreciated out of it. And now
that's exactly right. That's the whole philosophy of what we do. It's not an army regime, and it's not, you know, drill after drill. You know, it's about teaching them the finer skills of the game, which I've learnt and have experienced, you know, at the highest level. But it's about enjoying the game.
Beautiful.
I want to do that so that week in, week out, they're enjoying it. You know, after they finish Soccer Pro, they go, Dad, that was unbelievable. Let's go play some more, Dad. Let's go play at school. Let's go play at home. Let's go play out in the park. You know, back when we were kids, you know, we didn't have academies. We didn't have opportunities, you know, even the club coaches, you know, still even at this time, you know, their mums and dads and just people putting in their time. So the level of coaching is not the best, but we had the passion to play, and we played every opportunity we could, you know, with our friends, with our schoolmates. And the more we can get that today from our players, the more they're gonna benefit. You know, every second on the ball benefits them, you know, their skills immensely.
And it's so true. Like we would just go out in the paddock on the pitch, play 2v2, 3v3, 5v3, whatever it was, make 2 goals and then play.
That's it.
And now the movement has been to organise play, so that you don't see kids just doing unorganised play like the little ones, right? And so the framework needs to be in this organised format so they actually get minutes on the ball. And
that's right.
I think, and you're providing that opportunity for those kids that coming out and wanting to play. It's a fantastic environment. So I can talk.
That's right. I think a lot of these academies have sprung up. Gone are the days where people feel comfortable with allowing their young child to get on their bike and ride off and go and meet their friends down at the park. I don't see a reason for it, but with social media and everyone has news at hand, everyone's a little bit apprehensive. Gone are the days that you can go and play and have a kick in your front yard or in the street. The traffic and the amount of cars on the roads, it just can't be done. So there isn't the luxury that young people have today to, be left alone and go and play. So academies such as myself are now the way to go. They're in a safe professional environment. Now with COVID, they're in, safe COVID, safe,
training
sessions and COVID plans and all this other stuff that we now need to provide, and they're safe and still able to play soccer and enjoy the game. And this is where we're looking to lead into this new era, and hopefully get as many of our past players back, and of course continue to, make the next Socceroo and the next Australian international, and progress from there. And I think it might be about time for a Soccer Pro Academy reunion. We can get your boys back, and a lot of players, because I see a lot of my younger players that now play at in their teens for local clubs, and I remember that guy. He used to play at Soccer Pro. I was the one that helped him, love the game of soccer.
Brilliant.
So I can't wait for the first time. Yeah, sorry, I can't wait for the first time one of them says, "I've made the Australian team, Coach Joe. Do you remember me?
Yeah.
You gave me my first run. Here's a ticket for me playing in the World Cup." And I'll say, "Oh, thanks very much." And that'll be reward alone.
Yes, and you played obviously at the highest level, obviously for our country and top leagues around the world. They'll end up being a young player who watch this. What advice can you give to them?
Yeah, again, you got to find the passion for the game. It's not about your mum or dad or being sort of taken to your training sessions. Find what you enjoy, and if it's soccer, then play as much as you can. Take every opportunity you can to play the game, enjoy the game, and just take it to a level that you want to go and you want to be. So don't let anyone tell you otherwise. If you enjoy it, do it, and do it as every opportunity you can.
Yeah. So
and again, if you have that passion for it and that love for it, there's no chance but succeeding. Nothing can hold you back.
Joe Spiteri, words of wisdom. It's been an absolute pleasure speaking to you today. And us Victorians, we're going to get out there and start kicking the ball again. Thank you so much for your words of wisdom and sharing this experience. It's been a pleasure.
No, brilliant, mate. Like I said, can't wait to get back out there, and our group sessions will start next week. So anyone out there that wants to get their kids playing, go to soccerproacademy.com.au and sign them up, because we're going to be out in the park next week.
Brilliant.
Too good. Thank you.